Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Recently, we obviously have been talking about the future of Warzone, particularly one report that stems from the Ghost of Hope in regards to the potential end and conclusion of Warzone as a whole. And this singular report has had the entire Call of Duty community kind of going crazy. There's no way they're going to stop Warzone. Some people saying, well, maybe we're misinterpreting it. What's going on here? Based on all the details that we have now, obviously this is just a very, very long out, ways away rumor. We have truly no idea what the remainder of Black Ops 6 in this iteration of Warzone is going to hold. We've got no idea what Black Ops 7, the reported Call of Duty 2025 title, and that Warzone integration is going to hold. So we're a ways away from having any foregone conclusion about what the future of Call of Duty and Warzone is going to look like. However, based on this report and the info that we've got so far, from my POV at least, Call of Duty seems to have this very backwards. So in case you missed it, this initial report from the Ghost of Hope says some exclusive details for Modern Warfare 4, aka Call of Duty 2026. It's apparently not going to have any old gen support, so the game won't be available on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. That's not a huge surprise given how old those consoles are. It's going to have traditional UI like some classic COD games, think Black Ops 2, maybe Black Ops 3, MW2, the menus, the UI of those games, apparently. The engine's going to be overhauled, potentially updated. The wording there is still very interesting, but it's going to address some of the issues with the current engine, with the graphics looking less ideal than, the previous engine with Modern Warfare 2019 and whatnot. It's being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox, so presumably going to be a day one launch game with the next generation of Xbox consoles. And most importantly here, there will not be a Warzone 3 if Verdansk does not retain current players or increase the player count and maintain longevity as it's set to return here with Season 3. So first up, rather interesting in my opinion, they seem to be, again, riding fully on Verdansk, going all in on Verdansk, and with the delay of Season 3 that we recently saw, that pushes even more pressure on the launch of Verdansk as well. Now, with this report surfacing saying if this launch doesn't go over well, if the game doesn't continue to maintain an active player base or, increase its player base over the next few months, with Verdansk being the hot new thing, there could be genuine concern for Warzone long term. The problem is now there should have been concern for Warzone for a while now, really dating back to Warzone 2, where it was insanely hyped up. Modern Warfare 2022 may be the most hyped game of all time, and then upon launch, the reception not being good, the game completely stumbling and falling apart in a sense. Even during Caldera, what was at that time the most hated version of Warzone, because it wasn't Verdansk, it was crazy World War II stuff going on. Attachments were weird, weapons were weird, all sorts of interesting things, and opinions were surfacing at that time. Warzone 2 took it to the next level and somehow downgraded, in the eyes of a lot of players, the Warzone experience even more. And since then, we've seen a little bit of turnaround. Modern Warfare 3 Warzone was honestly a very good product in my opinion, turning around a lot of the mistakes that Warzone 2 made. Black Ops 6 has gone away from some of those fixes that Warzone during Modern Warfare 3 looked to address. It also has introduced other things entirely, like Omni movement and various systems like that. But you can't really say that Warzone has fully rebounded, and that's pretty apparent by the various player count reports that have surfaced this year. Obviously, Steam as a platform not doing that great. Steam is also the smallest platform and the buggiest platform for Call of Duty by a pretty significant margin there, so it's hard to base any main conclusions, at least logically, solely off of Steam and Steam alone. And we'll never get the full true player count because it's not available anywhere else, but we do see that the game is still actively the #1 or #2 most played on console on a week-to-week and a month-to-month basis, reported by Circana. Charlie Intel reports on that stuff a lot. So it's not like the game is just completely dead, no one is playing it. It's still Call of Duty, it's still a household name, and it still draws a ton of attention, but the state of the game is certainly not good, and they haven't really done anything to address that up until this point. We get the same old song and dance repeatedly. Oh, this season we're going to be addressing a lot of bug fixes. We won't have content as much this season in favor of fixing the game, and then some things get fixed, but then 10 other things break, and then updates to fix those things that just breaks another thing, and it's just an endless cycle there. You have, oh, we've got a major anti-cheat update coming, and we see things go down for a couple of days where the cheating situation's not insane, but then a week later, 2 weeks later, the cheat developers have updated and it's back to a month and a half of crazy cheats in almost every other lobby, right? Like, they have yet to get that under control. You have all these inconsistencies with the game stemming from movement being clunky still, even with optimized omni movement. You have gunfights being super inconsistent with hit reg and everything going on there. It's just constant issue after constant issue, and it's not like these have been secrets. You know, it's been very apparent what the major flaws with Call of Duty are. It's been shouted from the mountaintops for a long time. Servers should be a priority. The anti-cheat should be a priority. Smoothing out the game should be a priority. You know, there's very little communication on any of that. There is constant communication on the new bundles dropping in the store, or a new way to monetize an event by buying the premium pass or whatever. And while content's fun, and I've said this a billion times, content can be great. You could have the most flawless gameplay experience from a content standpoint. The weapons could be awesome. The attachment system could be great. The maps could be gorgeous. But if you're lagging and if you are running into cheaters, none of that content, none of that gameplay stuff matters. And now when you look at the future of Warzone, all that being considered, right? Verdansk, we've said this too. Yes, Verdansk is going to bring a lot of attention back to Warzone. There's going to be a lot of excitement behind it. They are playing on the nostalgia heavy, and it will have a huge amount of players coming back to the game to try out Verdansk yet again. It is not going to be a one-to-one experience of what Verdansk was in Warzone 1 when the entire world was going crazy over it and it was the most played game in the universe, right? Because there are fundamental gameplay changes, there are server changes, there's lighting changes, visual changes, everything like that. It is a completely different game at its core. The only similarity will be the map. And so that in and of itself is going to turn some people away, but also other players might like the change in gameplay. You're going to have a split decision there for sure. But beyond that, the return of Verdansk is just simply that. At least from what we know so far. They have yet to go out and address any of those other major concerns. So when you say, oh, Verdansk is coming back, and they're riding so much on the success of this, hey, we're probably going to consider Warzone's future a lot more seriously if Verdansk doesn't do well. Well, just simply throwing Verdansk out there as a map and saying, okay, you guys asked for Verdansk, here it is. You play the game, right? Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Well, that's awesome. Verdansk will be great, but the gameplay is what matters. As I just said, content can be the best it's ever been, but the gameplay and those other things impacting every single match, every single gunfight, servers, anti-cheat, that stuff, not being addressed. We apparently have an upcoming anti-cheat update with Season 3, but following the lackluster anti-cheat update with Season 2 that was the more significant one, can't say there's much hope there. We haven't heard anything about the servers and those potentially being updated for Verdansk. You're going to have 150 players back on this. You're going to have a huge influx of players coming back to relive Verdansk yet again. How are those servers going to perform? Those are the things that are going to turn players away from Warzone, not Verdansk maybe being boring or not living up to the hype. Verdansk will absolutely play on that nostalgia for hundreds of thousands of people. It will keep players on the game for a certain amount of time, until they start to realize their gunfights are inconsistent because they're lagging, they have packet bursts, their ping is too high because skill-based is, tuned to the max and it's cranked all the way up, right? They're going to turn away from the game when they're running through their favorite POIs and they get beamed from a cheater 200 meters away, just like in Warzone 1, where the cheating issue was a severe plague on the game now. I mean, hey, if they're going all in on the, we want to recreate that Warzone 1 feel, I guess having absurd amounts of cheaters is par for the course there. And it's so disappointing to say that in Verdansk, originally, where no anti-cheat existed, there was a massive cheating issue. And you can't confidently say now, when an anti-cheat's been around for years, that the cheating issue is that much different. Maybe the severity of it is, you're not seeing those blatant level 1 aimbotters absolutely just frying every single person out of the sky, insta-flicking, but you have walls, aim hacks, unlock all, everything like that still going crazy, and it's not a secret there either. So with this rumor going around from Activision's POV to say that they may drop support for Warzone if Verdansk can't do well, they're playing all their cards just on Verdansk. Verdansk isn't the focus point here though. The map is not the focus point. It's the gameplay and it is the experience. And it's what impacts those regardless of what the map is or what the content is or what the era of the game is. Because every single Call of Duty, whether it is a World War II Vanguard game or it is a game that takes place in the year 3000, is going to be impacted by your server performance and your anti-cheat and your ability to sustain a stable game that is relatively bug-free and doesn't have crazy glitches happening or crazy glitches resurfacing after they've been fixed with every other major update. Now, whether that's the fault of the Call of Duty HQ or something else entirely, we don't have that insight. you know, really only the people working on COD do, and that's likely never to fully surface to the public unless somebody comes out and says, hey, yeah, I worked at COD before. This is why this happened. This is why that happened. Are they going to fix it? Probably not, or maybe, you know? That's just not a level of insight or transparency we're probably ever going to see. We just have to hope that our voices are heard in situations like this, which if you want to help share this video around and get more eyes on it, a great way to do so truly is to drop a like. It really does help the channel. And by the way, if you're new here, you want to guarantee that on a daily basis, you're always in the know for everything going on in COD, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. We are on the road to 1 million. But anyways, I digress. The idea that if Verdansk is the reason that Warzone can't be saved or they can't sustain a current player base, and grow that player base, cause a resurgence, and get it back to Warzone 1 like numbers is, to me, a very narrow way of thinking and a very one-dimensional and short-sighted way of thinking. I fail to believe that they're not also realizing there's other factors to this and that it's solely the map and the map alone for Battle Royale, not even to mention resurgence, right? It just seems, like I said at the start, so backwards. Now, again, just my POV here, my you know, thinking and understanding of this. When you look to the long-term future of Warzone and Warzone 3, that being an integration of some capacity, the next era where they upgrade the engine and it's a reset, and then it'll be connected to COD 2026, and then COD 2027 will be integrated, and so on and so forth. If they're looking at doing that, if Verdansk can't sustain players and that idea comes into concept, would they just shut down Warzone and it would simply cease to exist? They'd Thanos snap it out of existence? Can't imagine that's ever a scenario. They know Warzone is their moneymaker. As much as they can get sales out of Black Ops 6 or the premium title every single year, Game Pass is going to knock down some of those sales inherently just because it's the cheaper and more affordable option, especially if you're also a gamer actively using other games and playing those other games in that service. Game Pass as a consumer is honestly a really good deal. I have it and it pays for itself after just playing a couple of games, right? But from Activision's standpoint, their Xbox sales probably going to be a lot lower because Game Pass exists. Some of their PC sales probably going to be a little bit lower because Game Pass exists. They also know that the free-to-play entry in the franchise being Warzone, the exclusive free-to-play entry into the franchise, is where they're going to make a ton of money, far more throughout the year than just their premium launch, right? Like, yes, during October, November, December, maybe January, when the premium game is releasing and then has that first few, you know, months of initial hype, yes, they're going to make billions off of that. But then from February, March, April through the summer, when there's that sort of drought and the new game is not new anymore, you have Warzone, that free-to-play entry. That's where you're making your money. The seasonal updates, the battle passes, which yes, are also available in the premium title, but Warzone is a huge chunk of that revenue, and it's also where a bulk of that player base is likely going to be throughout the year, not just at launch of the premium title. So to simply take that away, outlandish. They are going to lose so many players and so much money if they were to go that route. I think the more realistic option would be then to weigh, do we want Warzone to connect to Call of Duties every single year? Do we move it as a standalone title and do it like Apex does their game and like Fortnite does their game? You can still have connections between the two. It just doesn't have to be a full integration that then depends more on the premium title than the game itself for content and everything, which we've said this for a while. Standalone should have happened a long time ago. It probably should have happened after the end of Warzone 1 and after Vanguard and Caldera, instead of Warzone 2 being a thing. Should have just gone to Warzone being a standalone thing, and then you can connect it content-wise or story-wise to the main titles however you want. Just don't force those integrations, because that seems to be where the bulk of the issues come from every year, and they've yet to really address that. So the idea that if Verdansk isn't the end-all be-all answer is insane, because there's so much more to it than that. And I hope that Call of Duty realizes that, and that this rumor is just that at the end of the day, a rumor, right? Realistically, I don't see a scenario where Warzone goes away. I'd hope for a scenario where it goes standalone and it's got its own dedicated support that is not dependent on the other Call of Duty titles. Time will tell as to what happens here. Hopefully it's for the best. At the end of the day, I'm a fan before I'm a creator or someone who has Call of Duty as a job, right? I want the game to be fun. I want the game to be good because I want to look forward to playing it every single day. I don't want to have to jump on and experience the terrible cheating situation, the bad servers, the bugs and the glitches galore. I want the game to be fun, and I want it to be consistent, and I want it to be something I'm constantly looking forward to, right? So I hope for the best. Always will. We'll see how things play out. For now, though, based on all the reports and the info that we have, which is severely limited, It just seems like a very backward situation. Would love to get your thoughts on this more down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to stay in the know for everything going on in COD, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.